Hey, I'm Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and as I do twice a year, today I'm here to share my top 10 favorite games of all time as of right now, September 2025. In this list, I narrowed down, I play a lot of games, and I love a lot of games, and so I narrowed down this list in general by honing in on games that I have posted at the top of any other top 10 list on any topic for the last 8 years that I've been making these videos. So that is maybe one of the guidelines that I've used to restrict myself a little bit for this video. And that way I don't just pick like the games that I love playing right now because they're new or hot or whatever. So I have a lot to talk about today. So let's jump right in. And first we'll talk about before I show any other images on the screen, just real quick, I have a list from the Stonemaier shareholders. Stonemaier is a company that's primarily owned by me and my coworkers, but also owned by some other people who have invested in the company. And we get a lot of great feedback from them. And it was really interesting for me to ask them this question because not a single shareholder said the same game is their favorite. I asked them for a non-Stonemaier game and a Stonemaier game that is their favorite. And every single, there is overlap with the Stonemaier games, but the non-Stonemaier games were Off, Teufel, Komm, Raus, Telestrations, Twilight Struggle, Dune Imperium, Ark Nova, Concordia, Blood on the Clocktower, The Quest for Dorado, Brass Lancashire, Architects of the West Kingdom, Earthborne Rangers, Among the Stars, Quacks, Vandermidst, Dossier, Pandemic, Dawn of the Zeds, Innovation, Star Wars Unlimited, and Dixit. So not a single repeat from any of the shareholders on their favorite non-Stonemaier game right now. Among the Stonemaier games picked by shareholders, Finspan was picked twice, Viticulture was picked twice, Vantage was picked 4 times, Tapestry was picked 5 times, Wingspan was also picked 4 times, and then Stamp Swap and Wyrmspan each got 1 pick. All right, let's start showing you some other images. Here are our panelist picks. We'll start with Scyler, our family gamer. Scyler picked Ark Nova as her favorite family game of all time as of right now. She says, Ark Nova is wonderful. I love getting to the end and looking at the zoo I was able to create. The lack of direct conflict makes it great for families that want something more strategic without conflict. The action selection system is a brilliantly clever puzzle, and collecting all the animal cards is an absolute blast. I also really enjoy the variability. Depending on the animals you get, your strategy and your zoo will always be completely different. Highly recommend checking this game out. Skylar's favorite Stonemaier game of all time is Wyrmspan. She says, Wyrmspan is so satisfying to play because you get to build your personal dragon sanctuary. It's a blast to see your player board transform as you excavate new caves and entice more dragons to live there. The engine building aspect is a huge part of the fun. You start small and then get to chain together amazing combos for truly epic turns. The gameplay is a fun puzzle with a rewarding action system that makes every turn feel meaningful. Collecting all the unique dragon cards and seeing the fun art is a hit with my kids. Thank you, Skyler, for your picks. We're now on to Dillon, our heavy gamer, and Dillon picked Pulsar 2849 as his #1 pick. Dillon says, because this game is so tight in how few actions you get, pulling off accomplishments and generating income engines always feels clever and satisfying, especially if you manage to do them early. All of the major strategies of the game feel powerful and rewarding, but they all require careful and planned out level of commitment. I also admit that I love point salad scoring systems, and you can get victory points for just about everything in this game. And then Dillon picked Scythe for his #1 Stonemaier game. He says there are a few games that are a more fun engine building and efficiency puzzle, few games that are as theme immersive without being narrative driven, and few games that balance Euro style mechanisms with combat and player interaction as well as Scythe. The combination of the art, world, mechanisms, and interactions is just magic. Thank you, Dillon, for those kind words about Scythe. Now we have Aryn, our solo gamer. Aryn says Molly House is their #1 favorite non-Stonemaier game. Set in 18th century London, you take on the role of a member of the queer community who frequents Molly houses. However, the Society for Reformation of Manners wants to shut down all the Molly houses by any means necessary, even if it involves blackmailing you to work for them. Try to earn joy by throwing extravagant parties at Molly houses by playing an early version of poker. If you're able to achieve enough joy in the community and keep most of the Molly houses open, you win. There are other ways to win, but that involves working with the Society for the Reformation of Manners, at which point joy just becomes victory points, an emotionless metric. The solo mode does a great job representing a 5-player game. An anomaly among solo games, that typically represents a 2-player game, a tough, thoughtful, and provocative game that feels scarily prescient to what's going on today in regards to LGBTQ plus rights. And Aryn also picked Vantage, my newest game, as their #1 Stonemaier pick right now. Vantage, what a game. I don't think there's ever been a game more designed to my taste. The exploration, the story creating, the rolling of a ton of dice. Every time I play this game, I come away with a fresh new epic tale and the desire to jump right back in for another. On top of that, the speed in which you can set up this game is ludicrous given the weight. A couple minutes and you're crashing on the planet to explore. I have so much more to add, but I don't want to spoil anything. I'll just end up by saying, if you like exploration games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, Myst, and board games like Sleeping Gods or Seventh Continent Citadel, you must check out Vantage. Your future self will thank you profusely. That means a lot to me. Thank you, Aryn, for saying that about Vantage. And then our last panelist is Caitlin. Caitlin mentions a game called Mindspace. She says, I fell in love with it instantly, as I knew I would, and the first time I played it made me the most relaxed I felt in weeks. It's always good to have a relaxing game, so I might need to check out Mindspace. Also, Caitlin is our digital gamer, and so Caitlin mentioned Bunny Kingdom as her favorite game to play on Board Game Arena. Caitlin's other pick, or Stonemaier pick, is Rolling Realms. I love the origin of why the game was created, and I love how much it's been expanded. So many realms now. While Rolling Realms is available digitally, Caitlin's favorite Board Game Arena pick is Tapestry. All right, back to me for a second. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, shareholders, for your picks. I really appreciate you contributing to this biannual top 10 favorites of all time tabletop games list. I am now going to pause for a second to mention my honorable mentions. And my honorable mentions right now are Cat in the Box, Blob Party, Just One, So Clover, Fantastic Factories, Rumble Nation, Space Base, Caution Signs, Cartographers, Terra Mystica, Lords of Waterdeep, and Dune Imperium. And if I had to pick a favorite Stonemaier game, which often has recency bias for me, so I am going to say Vantage. I am very grateful that I had 8 years to work on Vantage and make it exactly the game that I wanted it to be. And I am continuing to love Vantage right now. My favorite non-Stonemaier or favorite Stonemaier game not designed by me would probably be, right now, again, recency bias. I'm really enjoying Finspan. It plays so quickly. It's easy to teach. It flows really well. Yes, I might pick that one as my favorite pick. But for the rest of the top 10, I did not make Stonemaier games eligible for my top 10. And my number 10 pick is Let's Go to Japan. Let's Go to Japan is a game about planning a trip to Japan. A week-long trip, a 6-day trip to Japan, which I am personally connected to this theme because I studied abroad in Japan. I also planned the trip to Japan just last year. And so I really appreciate how well this theme is integrated into the mechanisms of Let's Go to Japan. You're planning this trip by drafting cards, and it's a really smooth, simultaneous draft where you're drafting these cards, you're inserting them into the different days of the week as you wish. You don't have to start on Monday. You can jump all the way to Friday, and you're trying to create some sets for each day. You're trying not to jump back and forth between Kyoto and Tokyo too much. You're managing your money, your happiness, and also you're trying to get resources so that the resources that you've accumulated so far add up to the highlight of the day, so the fully exposed card on each stack, so that you can score the most points for that stack for that day. It's just an incredibly clever, smooth combination of theme and mechanisms. I keep coming back to it. I'm happy to teach it. I'm happy to play it. This is Let's Go to Japan at number 10. At number 9 on my list, I have Duel for Middle-earth. This is the new version of Seven Wonders Duel, and it is a delight. I literally played this yesterday with Megan because we had a spare 30 minutes, and it plays just so smoothly. The tension is high throughout the game because there are 3 different victory conditions dealing with the combat area, collecting the 6 different races, and also the race to try to get to Mordor or Mount Doom, or try to catch the hobbits. I almost caught the hobbit. In fact, yesterday, you can see here on this board, the Nazgul, I think it's the Nazgul, are very close to catching the hobbits. And this is where I ended the game yesterday. This isn't my photo, but this is very close. I didn't quite catch them, but I got very, very close. And just the draft of having some face-up cards, some face-down cards, you don't know what card will be revealed when you take a face-down card that fully reveals a face-down card. It's just I am in awe of this design. It's an incredible design. I really, really love this game. I could see it moving up even higher on the list in the future. This is Duel for Middle-earth at number 9. At number 8, I have a perennial favorite of mine, Quacks of Quedlinburg, now just called Quacks. This is a push your luck engine building, bag building game that plays almost fully simultaneously, although you do have some pauses in the game to kind of collect yourself, to buy things, to see where you stand compared to other players. And I just really love the combination of the engine building with the bag building combined with the push your luck element of when you're going to stop brewing in each of the, I believe, 9 rounds of the game. I also love the variability. You set out tiles or a different combination of tiles each game to define what the tokens mean. And so it means there's very little text you have to read in the game. There's only text on the tiles, and oftentimes it's conveyed really well in icons. It's one of these games that if someone mentions that they want to play it, I am almost always happy to get this game to the table. This is Quacks of Quedlinburg, or just Quacks now, at number 8. At number 7 is Forest Shuffle. I believe this might have been my number 1 favorite game last time. Games shift around a little bit. All the games on this list I love. In fact, even my top 20, I really, really love all the games that would be on this list. But this is a game that, again, if someone mentions they want to play Forest Shuffle, I am so excited to play. It's so easy to get to the table because you shuffle the deck of cards. In the bottom third, you insert some of the winter cards. So you don't know exactly when the game is going to end. The game ends after the 3rd winter card is drawn. But it's just a single deck of cards that you're shuffling together. And you are trying to build a forest by inserting these cards on the top, the bottom, the left, and the right of the trees. I really like how almost every card in the game is actually 2 cards. Like on the top of this hedgehog card is another card that I could have inserted at the top of my tree instead. There's a lot of engine building. There's a lot of point generation. There's a lot of combo building. One thing leads to another. And it's all done with cards. The designers of this game do so much just with cards that it's incredibly impressive. And the adorable art that the story you're telling of building your forest is something that I always enjoy as well. This is Forest Shuffle at number 7. At number 6 is another 2-player dueling game. This is Star Wars, the deck building game. I continue to come back to this game time and time again. I probably will do a video about it at some point featuring all the different favorite mechanisms that I keep coming back to, because there's the central card row where you can buy cards or defeat cards from this card row. So you're not directly hurting your opponent, but you are taking away things that they might want. There's the different bases that you have the choices of selecting whenever your previous base is defeated. You have the deck building. You have these big ships that come out that block and protect your base from the other player. And all of this is done with only 3 resources on the card. You have the currency, you have the military aspect, and you have the force. I love how this game plays. This is a beautiful implementation of an IP game of the Star Wars intellectual property. It plays so smoothly, plays so quickly, and I love dueling with Megan, even though Megan always beats me at this game. This is Star Wars, the deck building game, at number 6. And number 5 is almost the opposite direction of what I just talked about. Even though it isn't a heavy game, Skull King is my number 5 favorite game. This game scales well up to 8 players, maybe even higher, but we often play it at 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 players. This is a trick-taking game that ramps up, and I love this subgenre of ramping games where you start with only 1 hand of cards, or 1 card in hand. You try to bid on how many cards you're going to win that hand, either 0 or 1, or how many tricks you're going to win that hand. And then the next hand you get 2 cards, then 3, and then 4. This ramping up not only helps to onboard players into the game, but it also helps to give this feeling of escalation where things are really becoming more difficult, more important the longer you play. I found out recently that I was actually playing this game slightly incorrectly, in that when you bid nil in this game, and if you don't get it, you lose points equal to the current round. So if you bid nil, you're saying I'm not going to win any tricks in round 8. Then you lose 80 points if you don't actually get that correct. I was playing that a little bit incorrectly, but it definitely it puts a little bit more weight on bidding nil, a common strategy as you get later in the game. I played this on the gaming cruise to Norway that I took recently, and I played it with a few people that I've talked to online about this game, and we had a great time. And we actually, for the first time, included the white whale and the kraken, and they made the game even more zany. I wouldn't do that every time I played, but I did have a lot of fun playing with those cards in this game. That is number 5, Skull King, on my favorites list. Opposite end of the spectrum again, we have Ark Nova, probably the heaviest game on this list. This is a game that I don't get to the table all that often, but I love it when it is on the table, when I know that I'm in for a meaty 2+ hour game. There's so much to love about this game, but I keep coming back to how well these cards are designed. I love the action system. The action system is beautiful. But since I have the cards up on the screen, I love that there's a requirement for the place on your player map where you have to put the animal. There is a monetary cost of how much the animal costs. There's often tag requirements of how many other animals from that region, for example, need to already be in your zoo. And then the card always gives you some ongoing benefits. It gives you a tag. It gives you a location tag, an animal tag. You can use those to play future cards. It often gives you a one-time ability, end game points, maybe an ongoing ability. There is so much built into every single card that feels both thematic, but also like its own little puzzle to solve. I love this about Ark Nova, and wish I could do better about this in my games because it is truly an inspiration of card design. Ark Nova number 4. Ra is one that I find myself bringing to game nights more and more often. It is one that I've loved for many, many years. It's one that I tried to get the rights for so many games, but I think 25th Century Games did a fantastic job with it, with this new version. And Tool did a fantastic job with the player mats, making it easier to remember exactly how all the tiles work and which tiles stay in your tableau in this auction game, and which tiles go away at the end of the round. I love the tension of the game. It has a push your luck feel to it in this auction. And it's easy to teach. It zooms on by. It's easy to set up. You can see that I'm saying that a lot. I'm appreciating games more and more that are very easy to get to the table. I'm more likely to play them if setup is fast and simple, and I don't have to remember a lot of different combinations for different player counts and things like that. Ra makes that very, very easy. I love Ra. My favorite auction game. I'm having a blast with it. My number 3 favorite game of all time as of right now. My number 2 favorite game is The Gang. I'm really, really loving The Gang. There aren't a lot of photos of The Gang on Board Game Geek, but I picked this one because it does highlight a key element of the game. This is a cooperative poker game where you get a hand of 2 cards and you are trying to communicate to other players how good you think your hand is compared to their hands, but you don't know what their hands are. I love the simplicity of that mechanism. I love the cooperation and that limited communication. I love the limited information that you have a hand of cards that other players don't know about. I also really love that if you're trying to get everything exactly correct, so the exact order of the power level of each hand of cards 3 times. And if you do it right, so in the first round, if you get that right, you get a card that makes things a little more difficult for the next round. If you got it wrong, you get a card that makes it a little bit easier for the next round. And those cards, I think, are brilliantly designed. It gives a sense of, it just mixes up the game just a little bit, and it gives you just a little bump if things aren't going well, or if things are going too well, it gives you a little nudge in the other direction. I think that is so brilliant, and that it's really the reason why I think The Gang is worth buying and not just playing The Gang with a normal deck of cards. I think that deck of 20 different cards is absolutely worth the money to buy a copy of The Gang. I love this game, and I highly recommend it. It is my number 2 favorite game of all time. At number 1, I have Planet Unknown. Perhaps a little bit of recency bias on this, but I have played this game for a good 5 years now. I happened to play it at a game night recently and was reminded of just how much I love this game. But I love the simultaneous play. In fact, a lot of the games on the list I mentioned today are simultaneous. So you are selecting 1 of 2 tiles from this industrial Susan, if you want to call it that, or lazy Susan, that the active player is turning around. You're choosing 1 of those 2 tiles and placing them on your mat, and it gives you double benefits. I love games that offer double benefits. You're getting 2 different things from the tile that you place, moving up 2 different tracks, gaining benefits. And oftentimes when you move up in these tracks, you gain another benefit. So it has this combolicious feel to it. I found that I never mind playing with the standard side of the player mats or the companies, the corporations in this game. But every single corporation has an asymmetric side on the back that you can play with. Every single planet has an asymmetric side that you can play with on the back of it. Those are a lot of fun to play with as well. And even though it is a simultaneous game with fairly low player interaction, the active player is still deciding which tiles players are choosing. You still have goals in between you and the other players, so there's player interaction there, and there is a race for the technologies. There is player interaction there. I don't feel the need to attack someone else's planet, but I do like that there are reasons to pay attention to other players around the table and race to get different elements, different things before they do. I love this game. It is a great spatial puzzle, a great engine building puzzle, a great simultaneous puzzle. That is Planet Unknown as my #1 favorite game of all time as of right now. That's my list. It's always fun to create this list. These games certainly will shift around in the coming months, but for now, these are my top 10 favorite games of all time to play. I'd love to hear your favorite game that I mentioned today. I'd love to hear your top, maybe let's say your top 3 favorite games of all time as of right now. And if a Stonemaier game isn't on that list, throw in a Stonemaier game as what is your favorite Stonemaier game of all time as of right now as well. I look forward to hearing your comments. Let me know. I'll see you there.